Welcome to another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. Eddie Arnell, G. Witt, J. Lou back with us tonight.
Tighten up, baby.
What's going on, gentlemen? Another week of Halftime Adjustments. Last week we had the third quarter review. So he's been rocking with us for the last few weeks. We've broken the schedule down in quarters. We've done the first, the second, and the third quarter. And we all agree after the Green Mile last week that, that week would determine a lot for these 2022 Tennessee Titans. But as we came into this week, fellas, we got a little cap relief this week, did we, J. Lou?
Yeah, that we did. This was the Julio Jones relief party week. Designated after June 1st. So going into today, Titans are sitting. Let's just round it up and say 11 million, 10.8 under the cap, which kind of puts them right in the middle of the pack when it comes to cap. Now, again, thankfully, and this is something that, as I was digging into it, I was looking into it, over the previous weeks I've talked about, this is probably the first time in a while I can recall the Titans signing rookies early. Right. So with the two that they still have remaining signing, that'll come out of that 10.8. And still, I still think you see a restructure when you start looking at some of these numbers. Taylor Lewan is still a prime candidate for a restructure or a cut. I don't think they'll cut him. No. Stranger things have happened, but he can definitely help with a restructure where they still can have some money to sign when these quality veterans that are still available, especially to shore up the wide receiver room and the offensive line. But great to see that the Titans are not the bottom of the barrel on cap relief right now.
Yeah, and J. Lou, one more thing before we get off the cap, man. I've been hearing a lot of talk about restructuring or extending Derrick Henry. And you think about that, and that's strictly a money thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that's more coming. So a lot of times when you hear stuff come out in the media about cap and all, it's usually 9 times out of 10 the player reps that are talking about it more than the team per se. I think from a fan point of view, you'd love for them to restructure them because that just locks them up. But financially, it doesn't really make any sense to restructure him right now. I mean, he's got a contract. His is just like Tannehill's. You can almost get out of it next year. You free up some money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot. So when I first heard that was the first thing I'm thinking that, maybe his team is trying to get him signed. But I like the fact of Derrick Henry coming in on a prove-it year this year because everybody's doubting him. And, when you start looking at his stats, man, I saw something come up about his career carries. He really didn't start carrying the ball like this until 2019.
Right.
So granted, he'd been in the league since 17 or 18. 2 of those years was like, JV type for him. Yeah, with DeMarco. So, yeah. I mean, he's really still, coming off the injury, still in his prime. But again, that's another candidate for restructure. And again, it's all about freeing up money, as G. Witt said, because we've got to pay a ton of players this time next year. So,
yeah.
Right. And so appreciate y'all coming on tonight, man. Got a lot of people popping in the room. What's up, Will Dotson, man? Appreciate you coming. Travis White, man, thank you for joining us tonight. Ryan and Gaddis. So y'all keep on coming in and getting your comments and your questions for the show. And so G. Witt, man, just listening to some possible free agents. One name popped up this week that we hadn't talked about. And I know y'all heard of Kenneth Stills, wide receiver. Now, Kenneth Stills, of course, he's got some chemistry with Tannehill back from the Miami Dolphins days, and G. Witt, I'm just waiting. I've been waiting for you on this one to see what you were gonna say because I got an idea. But G. Witt, man, let's talk about Kenneth Stills and can he bring anything to this 2022 Titans offense?
In all honesty, not really. Just a veteran presence, which means he knows how to run his routes and everything. But I don't see a lot of benefit out of him. To me, it's just like you're just rolling the dice just like you would with Will Fuller. That's all I see with that. I don't see any great advantage over what we have already to bring him in. He's not a threat to anybody. There's a reason why he's still out there. So, you could bring him in, but, I mean, really, he's not going to benefit you one way or another. Chemistry with Tannehill, that doesn't count for anything. I mean, that's been a long time ago. He was in Miami.
Right.
So it don't even really matter. Tannehill, truth be known, he's had his best years here with us. This is going to be, to J. Lou's point, this is going to be Tannehill's year to prove it. because the bottom line is he's going to be dealing with all new receivers with the exception of NWI. And, he's going to have to learn how to distribute the ball, because one thing that everybody knew, that if he ever got in the crunch, the first person he's going to look for is A.J. Brown. And he doesn't have that crutch anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see how he develops in the passing game, or how he handles the passing game going forward without his familiar targets.
Right. And you would think, fellas, that he would develop that chemistry with Austin Hooper. We'll see. Robert Woods would be that type of possession guy as well. And so we'll see. He's got some options there, but they have yet to get on the field together as far as full speed goes. You can only do so much in helmets and shorts, as we all know. And the truth won't be until we see him in preseason. So, 5 OTAs down, gentlemen, and a lot more to go. Offensive line and wide receivers still, we think there can be some ads there. But as we get out of the Green Mile from last week, one of the toughest 4-game schedules in the league, arguably. Let's look at week 13, guys, because after we get out of the Green Mile, we go to Philly. And we see a familiar foe.
It's a reunion
a
game,
familiar
man.
face. Traded A.J. Brown for the 18th pick in the draft. Philadelphia finished 9-8 last season. Lost to the Bucs in the wild card round. It was a good football game. You guys remember that? Some key free agent additions they picked up. So they picked up Hassan Reddick from Carolina, an edge guy. Re-signed Derek Barnett, Fletcher Cox, picked up James Bradbury. So it gives them a pretty good duo at the corner position. And Kaiser White and Zach Pascal receiving from Indy. And so, a lot of adds to this team. They drafted the heir apparent to Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis from Georgia, Nakobe Dean, linebacker out of Georgia in the 3rd round. So added some talent to this defense, which, was pretty solid last year if you look at their stats, 10th overall. But gee whiz, man, this is the Eagles on the road. You got now you got a duo of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, and Hurts in the backfield, and a team that really ran the ball good last year, as it was first in the league in rushing. So, gee whiz, this could be a tough game on the road, man, especially after the 4-game Green Mile.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game on the road. As we come to find out this past season, every time we go against one of our former players, especially if he was a starter, we tend to not play well, or something just falls apart against them. I don't know what it is. I mean, Corey Davis, we just laid an egg against the Jets. We laid an egg against the Patriots when we had to go against Jonnu Smith, and now we got to go to Philly to play against A.J. Brown. So I'm not sure how this one's going to turn out. And, the thing about the Philly is a bit unusual because you don't know what you're going to get out of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was their leading rusher last year. So, it's their running game is almost like Buffalo's. Your quarterback is your best running back. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out and everything. But I just don't know, really. I think the offense was ranked 14th overall.
Yeah.
And with our defense playing the run the way we do, even though they got a rushing quarterback, I think, we might fare okay, but they got a solid defense too. That's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. I think some of the things they did, one of the things Philly's been having a problem with over the past few years is just like us last year, injuries. Mm-hmm. Injuries has pretty much decimated them for the most part. That's the reason why they struggle getting past that 9-8 mark and everything. But it's going to be tough next year against them. They're expecting big things out of A.J. Brown. You wonder if the Philly press and fan base will get to him before that time, because if he has some bad games and they start ripping him on the radio and on TV and in the press and the newspapers and the fans start giving them the blues, it might be rough on him, because those Philly fans are no joke, man. They are absolutely no joke.
You can't, Jaylen, you can't go to Philadelphia wearing your feelings on your sleeve, man.
No,
not at all. Not at all.
Hey, what's interesting that G. Witt brought out is that Jalen Hurts is majority of their rushing offense, Jay Lou. And so, with the addition of A.J. Brown, you would think maybe that might change, but the jury is still out on Jalen Hurts, if he's the franchise quarterback for this team. And, you would like to put the ball in his hands and see what he can do if he can beat you with his arm.
Yeah, and I think that's the Titans' game plan is trust this front four and let Jalen beat us. Now, we all are sitting here assuming that A.J. Brown will play because we know he's known to miss a game or 2 or 3. So, but I think he'll find a way to be juiced up for this one. I personally look forward to him versus Kristen Fulton. I think that'll be a great one-on-one battle because we know that'll be who's on him. But yeah, Jalen, he's the wild card. And it's funny what here G would say about the Eagles press getting on AJ. I think quiet as it's kept is, and I know him and Jalen Hurts got a close relationship, but he might realize that he had a better quarterback throwing deep balls in Tannehill than he does in Jalen Hurts because Jalen ain't been too accurate. And again, they got the young gentleman out of Alabama. His second year, his name slips me right now. Devontae Smith on the other side. So they have the weapons. That defense. This gonna be a game that they built to stop the run. They got Fletcher Cox and they got the Fletcher Cox Jr. That they drafted. So I mean, they got a stout defense. That defense kept them in a lot of games. They play in the division where it's terrible, give or take. So they've always been in the playoff hunt, but that defense has definitely been solid. Kept them in games. Great all around, even on the back end on the defense. So this will be a game. Again, we're in December, so we know that's Henry time anyway. But we're really going to have to establish the run and beat them with our offensive line. We're going to have to win it in the trenches. Both sides of the ball, offensive line, defensive line, are going to have to dominate the line of scrimmage for us to be able to have a chance to win that game.
Right. You mentioned defensive line dominating the offensive line, and Rodney brings it up. We were just talking about it before the show came on, J. Lou, that Jeffrey Simmons was at Von Miller's pass rushing camp. So, but now not only would Jeffrey have a bull rush, we already know that he's gonna have some moves to go along with it. So he's gonna be even more dangerous of a force for that defensive front. And so Will says he sees it. The Atlanta Titans are signing all the old players. Yeah, we've been talking about that too. And so, if you look at, like you said, a duo for the Eagles now, Quez Watkins also in that mix, Dallas Goedert at tight end. And, they run the 4-3 defense. So it's going to be pretty interesting, man. Like you said, they're built to stop the run up front. They got some good speed at linebacker as well. And so another challenge, though, you can actually add this game to the Green Mile, because I think it's going to be a tough game. Like you said, J. Lou, December, this time of year, you would think Philadelphia might be competing for the NFC East. We'll see. Yet to be seen. But, a lot could be riding on this football game as far as playoff seeding goes. As well. So hello, Taylor, he's an NFC East guy. So he said, don't dog the NFC East like that, man.
Trust me, he knows. He knows. We wasn't calling it the NFC least for no reason. He knows that.
Week 14, gentlemen, brings the Jacksonville Jaguars here to Nashville. New head coach Doug Peterson. The Doug Peterson that led the Eagles to the Super Bowl win over the New England Patriots. He has a new offensive coordinator, Press Taylor. And if you don't know who Press Taylor was, he's worked with Peterson before. And he also worked with the Colts in the last couple of seasons. He even helped lead the Colts to one of 6 teams to have a 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard receiver. Mike Caldwell, defensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He helped with the Bucs establishing that number 1 rush defense, 82 yards a game. And so some key free agency gentlemen pickups across the offensive line. In particular, they got the line, and I'm not going to pronounce this guy's name because I'm just going to cut it up real bad. But the linebacker from Atlanta Falcons, he led the league in the NFL in tackles last season. So they added some guys on defense. Now, those of you that don't follow the cap situation, here's the team that we blame for us losing AJ Brown, because they gave Christian Kirk alpha dog receiver money. So he started this whole boom as far as the receivers getting this crazy amount of money this offseason. And so Christian Kirk, a slot receiver, getting paid like a number 1. I'm not saying he can't be that, but he didn't seem like he was producing that way when he was on. Evan Ingram at tight end, Zay Jones receiver, Williams at QB, and Laquan Treadwell, which is a familiar name at receiver. So some of the free agents they picked up. And then if you look at the draft, they actually drafted pretty well. J. Lou, man, they really added some speed to this defense. Trevon Walker, you add another guy with Allen on edge, and then Devin Lloyd, another linebacker they traded up to get. And then the Chad Muma, 3rd round pick, another linebacker. A lot of speed they've added, J. Lou, to this defense, man. And so Jacksonville Jaguars, week 14, 3-14 last year. we know what they had. They didn't have much. Travis Etienne should be back this year. He was out last year with an injury, so that's going to be different. Him and James Robinson will pack a nice 1-2 punch, if you will. But it's the Jaguars. It's Doug Peterson. What's your take?
Yeah, as a Titan fan, we hated after the Sunday game where they fired what's my guy? What's the coach's name that we lost? It slipped my mind. But yeah, that's why Jacksonville was what they were last year due to coaching.
Urban,
yeah, good old Urban Meyer.
I almost coughed up my water.
Yeah, Urban was trying to get fired.
Yeah, he really was.
So you would expect, they got a Super Bowl champion coach, champion pedigree, and they got some talent. Now I think that the Jaguars will be better, but this game is late December, so they're either be playing spoiler like they did last year, or they packed it up ready to go to Cancun. So luckily with this game being at home, you like our chances there. And we know Derrick Henry loves seeing Jacksonville. He basically owns them. This is a game where you're kind of familiar with them. Now, again, they bring a different wrinkle, but this is late in the season where you don't know what you think about Doug Peterson's offense that he ran when he made Carson Wentz look like an MVP. You would expect that he would help have Sunshine looking a little better back there this year for Jacksonville. But still, I still don't think that Jacksonville is that strong in the trenches. And again, we keep bringing up the trenches because we're in that part of the schedule where offensive line and defensive line matter the most.
Right.
So again, this is one of those games where you've got to win them because you've got to win the division games. And talent-wise, we're better than the Jaguars, even if you look on paper. If and no ifs, ands, and buts about it. So this is one of those where you go out, put them away early, and move on to the next one. Don't you with it being the Jags, you don't want to let them hang around because again, this is a divisional opponent who would love at that time of the year. We hope to be playing for something. They probably are playing for spoiler, and we just saw it some months ago what they did to the Colts on the last game of the season to cost them. So that's the type of stuff you got to remember when you're going against a team like the Jags.
Yeah, and G Whit, man, that's a great point by Jay Lou. And you look at it at the last quarter of the portion of the schedule for the season, for the 2022 season for the Titans. This is 1 or 2 games. So you'll see these guys twice, and you definitely don't want to give them no confidence in this first matchup when you got them at home.
Yeah, but okay. I'm going to say this. I agree with Jay Lou. I mean, they're going to be better. I don't know if they're going to be that much better. That's the whole thing I'm thinking of. They're going to be better. Like I said last year, I know you guys laughed at me, but I was talking about Trevor Lawrence, man. I thought he looked good last year in some games, and that's the thing that really, with him, is going to be surprising. I'm waiting to see what Doug Peterson is going to be able to do with him. But really, when you stop and look at it, Travis Etienne, I don't know. The jury's out on him. I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do. He didn't get to play last year at all, so you don't know what you're going to get. His game coming out of Clemson was more of a Deion Lewis type back, scat back out of the backfield and everything. Mm-hmm. So you don't really know what you're going to get. Defensively, they made some improvements also, but still, I think they're still a little light in the tail feather. And I think the running game is going to be one of the biggest issues they're going to face again, and they know it. I mean, everybody in the league knows. They look at it like Derrick Henry knows he's averaging 200 yards a game against them. So when they come to play us, that's going to be their number one goal is to stop Derrick Henry. But also, this is going to be one of those games where if you ever notice the last few years against last year specifically against Jacksonville, man, we struggled starting the game and everything. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out, man, because Jacksonville is tricky. Is really tricky because they've been terrible for so long. You don't know what you're going to expect out of them. And like you say, this is one of those games you need to win. Jay Lou, I can tell you right now, they won't put them away early.
Oh no, I mean we
already know that.
They won't do that. They won't do that. Unfortunately, rarely do you see the Titans put anybody away early. Even and again with Jacksonville being the way they are, I think they're going to come in, especially with a chip on their shoulders, like one of those games where they circle every year to get better at, and you'll see that like they do with the Colts. They know they got to play the coast, so they're gonna play spoiler alert. They might be playing spoiler against us during that time. I don't expect a whole lot out of Jacksonville, to be totally honest with you. They're going to be more talented. I just don't know if it's all going to come together inside of one off season. Stranger things have happened. I just don't really see it.
Yeah, and you make a great point there, G. Witt and Taylor. He says this is a key division game at this point of the season. Can't play down the competition. And we all know that the Titans play down all the time.
Yeah,
those are facts. And so being in this late in the season, it could be a lot riding on the line. And you can't give up. You can't afford to give any one of these AFC games, especially a division game up, let alone a conference game. And so we'll see, man. The sky's the limit for Jackson. You can't get any worse, can you? I know G. Wood says yes, you can. G. Wood says you can. You can go 0-16. So that's exactly. And Rodney Gaddis said once again another heart attack. You might be right.
Yeah.
You might be right, man. So
Jacksonville's just one of those teams, man. You just don't know. It's a flip of the coin on what you're going to get from them.
You're right.
Like I said, Derrick Henry's been able to pretty much traumatize them for the past 3 years. So we'll just see. But like I said, they got that game circled as a defense. I know. Remember, I was watching a clip on Facebook today of all the longest runs in the NFL, 90+ yards, and the last one they showed was the 99er against Jacksonville. The man was killing them when he gave up a 5th touchdown and decided to let Deion Lewis go in the game, talking about everybody needs to eat. So Jacksonville has always got us circled, man, and got Derrick Henry circled. And their main goal is going to be they have to stop him.
Well, I agree, man. He says whenever they do put a team away early, they throw a lifeline to him by halftime. You're right. You're so right, man. You're so right, man. It's just every time you think, man, here we go. We're going to keep our foot on their throat. They let them breathe, and here we go. Now we're fighting for the game at the end.
He's going to a prevent defense for some reason.
Right. Prevent you from winning the game. That's right. Yes. That's right. So week 15, fellas, we see another AFC West gunslinger. The LA Chargers on the road. Brandon Staley, year 2 of his coaching tenure, and good young coach, good defensive-minded coach. Had the Chargers playing well. They barely missed the playoffs. You got Mr. Herbert at quarterback or Eckler in the backfield. Keenan Allen, of course, his main weapon there. They got Gerald Everett at tight end. But again, G. Witt, here's a team that built around the offensive line during this offseason and added some pretty good pieces. They drafted as well. They added J.C. Jackson, one of the top coveted DBs coming out of free agents out of Jacksonville, to add him to a pretty solid defense. And we'll look at that defense in just a minute. Christian Covington, Austin Johnson, sounds like a familiar name for us. They used to play with the Tennessee Titans. And so you got a team that played well, had a great offense. Going to be tough to beat on the road, G. Witt. It's a West Coast game. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a 325 game as well. And so you got that factor against you, G. Witt, man. Let's talk about playing these Chargers on the road, an offense that was 4th overall, averaging 390 yards a game, and 3rd in passing, 282 yards, 5th in scoring at 25 points a game. So G. Witt, man, Chargers on the road. This is a tough game.
Yeah, man, this one's going to be hard because, again, the Chargers are going to be playing tough because they're going to be fighting for either wild card division. I mean, because that whole division, the AFC West, is going to be a dogfight throughout the entire season. First time going against Justin Herbert, man, it's going to be interesting because the man throws a pretty deep ball, and he's got the receivers that will go and get it. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are both great receivers. Their running game is okay. It's not really as great as everybody thinks, but it's functional. Yeah. Let's put it like that. It's functional. It keeps you honest. You got to watch out for Austin Eckler because he will break a long one on you. So you got to be careful about that. Offensive line, that's been their weak spot for the past couple of years, and they did a good job in showing that up a little bit more. But still, I still think they're going to struggle a little bit, and we just don't know how this being this late in the year, how it's going to be affecting them as far as injuries or whatever the case may be, or how well they're going to be playing. Like I said, their running game has never been that great. It's just functional. But defensively, man, this team is going to be hard to deal with, man. You got to remember, not only do they have Joey Bosa, they got Khalil Mack.
Yes.
So that pass rush is going to be a monster. The only thing that really help you out against them is the fact that Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack tend to get hurt during the season. and not make it through the entirety of the season. So you don't know what's going to be happening then. But like you said, with Derwin James Jr. and J.C. Jackson, man, that secondary is going to be tough. Asante Samuels Jr., that's going to be a tough role. And quite as they kept, they went out and got Kyle Van Noy. So that's going to be another, problem child we're going to have to deal with. So I'm not sure about this one, man. This is a toss up. All I can say is that we have to be playing some good ball, both offensively and defensively, to take this game, because the Chargers, man, they are building that team for the Super Bowl run, and they know they got to get through the AFC West. And with the AFC West being what it is right then, it's just gonna be a dogfight, man. And we got to be physical, literally physical with them to beat them, and that's mean defensively we're gonna have to light Justin Herbert up. But he's not a punk, though. Let me put that out there. He will stand in there, take the hit, and he will stand in there and keep coming. He ain't gonna back down.
Right. And so J. Lou, man, looking at this quarterback, man, because I'm gonna throw a little disclaimer out there. J. Lou is a passing fanatic when he plays Madden, and these numbers that Haber put up: 5,000 yards, 38 touchdowns, 97.7 rating. And so this kid can throw the football. I mean, of course they gave up 31 sacks, as we mentioned about the offensive line, but J. Lou, man, he can sling that peel. There's a lot of times that he kept them in the game and they probably shouldn't have been in the game. Yep. Let's talk about this team, J. Lou.
Hey, this is the Cincinnati Bengals from last year, I think. I think the Chargers, again, you look at the common denominator between them and the Bengals, they both are able to load up their teams on rookie quarterback contracts. Just remember that. I think that's the new wave you're seeing in the league. One thing I'll say, and G Witt hit it at the end, I don't think, and this is for all the teams in the AFC West, none of them to me are physical. They all seem a little finesse. And so to G Witt's point, if you go out there and you punch him in the mouth a few times, Mike Williams will tend to have alligator arms. Now, Keenan Allen, he's the truth. He's the real deal regardless. Yeah. But Mike Williams, we've seen him. He can give DBs headaches, and he can take plays off. So I think this is a game where we're going to just have to be physical with them, because this basketball team, they put out there wide receivers. I mean, they give all these DBs
6'4",
6'5", slinging the ball up there. So this will be, and again, this is going to be a true test about. I mean, we talking about what, week 15. So by now the offensive line is good and gelled, because they'll get another test. Let's just say that Bosa and Mack are both able to play that game. And that team can rush with just the front four. So you really need your offensive line to be stout this game. But I think this is a game, I'm with G Witt. It can go either way, but I think if you can go out there and just be physical with this team. I think this is the game you'll see the Titans, you'll see not Ty Downing, but you'll see defensive coordinator. You'll see us play a little bit more of that cover two shell, where we won't give up the deep stuff, because again, these receivers are just going to catch the balls. I mean, I think the last time we played them, was it the London game? Yeah. The last time we played the Chargers, a 2-point conversion away from once we turned that tide from that being a different outcome. So I think you go into that. I think us being as good as the Titans have been the last couple of years, where we've unfortunately, but fortunately, had to see the Kansas City Chiefs 3 or 4 times. I think you kind of got a blueprint. Now, Herbert is not Patrick Mahomes. Because Herbert will stand in there a little bit more. Patrick, he'll go off script and try to make some plays. But offensive wise, from that explosiveness, your defense has been challenged, the defensive coaching staff and all. So you've got a semi-game plan to kind of put together, where, again, I think you see us a lot of cover two, bend but don't break, and then we go after you. But I'm with G with this, and then I don't like them 3:25 start times. They just our body clocks don't function right when we have those
right. And so great points, both of you guys. And so, like you said, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, both 1,000-yard receivers last season. The big guys like to win a lot of those jump balls, to your point, J. Lou. And then you can't forget the receiving skill set of Austin Eckler as well.
Yes.
So I think that's a game that's going to be a key matchup for us. You might see a Molden. You might see a McQuarrie. You don't know at that point of the
Mhm.
season if he's playing a lot more. You might see a Theo Jackson. You just never know. And or you could see a Monty Rice matching up on who. I mean, who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting matchup for the Titans, especially Week 15 on the road. It could be a lot riding on the line, man. Especially after like I said, can't speak enough about the Green Mile.
That's a game. That's a game where we're gap disciplined, because you talk about Eckler, the screen game will kill us.
Yes.
And that's a game that we're really going to be disciplined on that.
Now, the one thing we do have that might help us, and then again, I don't know, you don't know if he learned from his mistakes, is your boy tends to not know what to do towards the end of the game, and that's their coach.
Yeah, I was going to
the head coach.
We saw that.
He tends to
outcoach
take
himself.
unnecessary risks when he doesn't have to, and then doesn't take the necessary risks when he needs to. So it's just one of them things. You don't know if he learned from that last year or not, but we'll see. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he did. But the bottom line is, man, this is going to be a tough game. And if that may be the saving grace that we have, is that we get into those, if it becomes a tight situation, we may be able to count on their coach making a mistake.
Yeah.
Right. Let me get this comment in, man. Got a question. He says, Stephen Birdwell, man, appreciate you joining the show tonight. He says he's pretty sure they're going to sign another veteran receiver. Which one is a good fit for us? So, Stephen, we've talked about that quite a bit on this show. And so, we talked about Kenneth Stills tonight. We all agree that he's going to be a good fit. So if anybody is worth kicking the tires on, if he can be healthy, I think Will Fuller can bring something to the table. If he's healthy, he's got deep ball speed. Go ahead.
I don't even think we need him healthy the whole season. I just need Fuller to get us about 8 games. And if he can give me the first 8, be the first 6, I think it'll take 6 weeks. And I know from everything you see, Robert Woods, I mean, everybody heals differently from ACLs. It's phenomenal to see him out there on the field in OTAs right now. That's a big step in the right direction. But if he can give you those first 6 weeks to get Robert Woods brought along with the rest of the wide receiver room, it's worth it just in it alone in itself right there. But he's definitely Kenny Stills would only be brought in to coddle Tannehill, because that's another friend he got. But that's a waste to me.
Yeah.
I would go with the guy that can at least stretch the field for you from that standpoint in Fuller.
Yeah, hold on, Steve. Yeah, no apologies necessary, man. I just wanted to let you know. Hey, we're gonna talk about whatever you want to talk about, baby.
That's right.
Hey, it's all love, man. It's all love. And so, if anybody's worth it though, Steven, man, we think it's Will Fuller. If he could be healthy, like J. Lou said, he doesn't even have to be there for the first half of the season. If he could just play the second half of the season during the crunch time and stretch the defense a little bit, then we'll be okay. And so, rolling into Week 16, fellas, Christmas Eve at home against the Houston Texans. Kind of talked about them earlier during the second quarter of the schedule. And so we already know they're going to bring to the table, guys. It's going to be tough. G. Witt, defensive-minded coach Lovie Smith, cover 2 guy to the heart, Tampa 2. So you already know they're not giving them nothing deep. They're going to keep everything in front of them, and they're going to have to make a tackle. And so the question is, are our receivers going to be able to make a play and break tackles and turn a short game into a long game?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'll answer that question for you right now. No. No, and to be honest with you, unless Trayvon Burks comes in and he plays well, he's really going to be the only one that's going to be big enough to break tackles and take it for a long run. But you still don't know what you're going to get out of him. I mean, let's just be honest about it. He's just a straight rookie. He's struggling right now with some of the things in camp, and a lot of it, people are saying it's just conditioning. But still, at the same time, he's about the only one, because Robert Woods, as good as he is, he's always been more of a possession receiver. Yes. And then you got to remember, you got tight ends and everything. So you're just going to see. But Houston, that's really, it's going to be it's another one of those games where, again, it's going to be a hard-fought game, because Lovie Smith is going to run that cover 2. They're going to be able to tackle well. That defense is going to be disciplined. The question is really going to be how well our defense plays against our offense. Because bottom line was, last year, when you look at that last game we played against them, we played, both games really. The defense played fine.
Right.
It's the offense that kept giving us the blues and everything. The defense played fine in that first game up until the time that Vrabel and Shane Bourne decided to pull the chains back on them. hold them up and like, we're just going to play coverage and we're just going to try to get out of here without getting hurt. And you can't do that against any NFL team. And all of a sudden you just saw Houston going up and down the field, and it took a miracle play from Tannehill to NWI to actually keep it rolling to get that last score to get a win. So you can't keep relying on that. I will say this about the defense this year, and really as good as it could be. I'm just going to put because we don't know anything. Shorts and helmets don't mean anything to me. When you put on the pass, we'll see. But the bottom line is, as good as this defense could be, it's not going to be a defense where you're going to want to take your foot off the gas when you got somebody down. You want to run them over, back up, and run them over again. You don't want to take your foot off the gas on them, because the bottom line is that offense, we still don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know what Derrick Henry is going to look like. That defense is going to be geared to stop us. We're going to have to make sure the defense can just turn the ball over and give us a short field to play with, so we can just take it on down and just take it on home. But this is going to be a tough game. Houston always is. It's a rival game. Let's just be honest about it. And it's a division game. And the past couple of years, Houston's been one of the weaker teams in the division. So and Derrick Henry tends to run over. So again, another team that's going to be set up to stop the run. That's the one thing they're not going to want to let happen, is Derrick Henry run over. So
right, because he's averaging 200 yards a game just about. He's got the most 200-yard games against them than anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of sad if you think about it. And so, I agree with you wholeheartedly, G. Witt and J. Lou, man. Just like we talked about Davis Mills, and if you look over the last few seasons, this game is always something on the line.
Yes.
During this game, number one seed, clinching a playoff position. All that type of things when we play Houston. It's not going to be any different, because this is a late season game. We played them earlier in the season. Now you got them again week 16, which could be a lot on the line again, J. Lou. And, we talked about they're going to take the identity of Lovie Smith. Everywhere he's coached, he's had an outstanding defense. Yeah. So, J. Lou, what's going to be the key, man? Week 16, can't let up. Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, can't let up. I mean, you hope that if Houston is who we think they are,
not the Dennis Green refer.
The Dennis Green refer. if they're playing spoiler, you hope that this young team is ready to go home for Christmas and pack it up, but you can't think that way. Right. This is another one. Again, it's something weird will happen in this game. Every time we play them at home, I don't care how terrible they are, it's always a field goal game. And it's just going to be something. I mean, I think about it a couple of years ago when we went to the playoffs. Did we beat them at home on the only touchdown? Was that the Kevin Byard fake punt touchdown? I think the Cruikshank took Cruikshank that game. Yeah. So, I mean, it's always, Houston, this is their Super Bowl. The city, the franchise doesn't like the Titans. I can't wait till 2023 when we wear the Houston Oilers jerseys against them. I just think that'll be phenomenal in itself. But they already upset about I'm not in the majority on this. Yeah, they're upset about that. But it's always, Lovie Smith will have these guys playing. Again, the wild card to me, though, is going to be Davis Mills. You with his offensive coordinator being on our staff now, what little insights can you get from Tim Kelly? And again, was it Kelly or what was it Davis Mills, or was it Kelly? Was it actually coaching that had him looking like he's looking? Again, Houston is riding or dying with him. They didn't bring in no rookie. They didn't draft nobody. They ain't brought in no veteran. They're going with him. So again, Lovie Smith, we saw it last year. He had that defense rocking and rolling. So they'll only be better because, even though he's the head coach, he's going to have his hands in that defense. But this is just one where you've got to, and it sounds like a broken record because 2 weeks ago, we just said the same thing about Jacksonville in week 15 or whatnot. You got to put them away early. And as G. Witt said, keep your foot on the gas. Right. I think this defense this year, just the players, maybe not the coaching yet, but the players, I think the attitude about what G. Witt said about going for the kill and staying on it, I think you got some players on this team this year that feel like they've got to do that because they saw what happened. So and going for the kill means, hey, if I'm holding them up for a tackle, let me come in and try to get the strip. Because I think that's the one thing that this team, when you listen to a lot of the defensive players after that Bengals game, 11 sacks, no turnovers, and we lost. That I think that fire alone is enough that'll make you hopefully flip that switch where the players will be the ones that say, okay, forget what we call it. Let's go out there and keep our foot on the throat. But it's
absolutely,
again, Christmas Eve. Let's hope we have a Merry Christmas here in Music City.
Right. And he's got Davis Mills, he's got some weapons. Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, John Meach III, they drafted.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna be interesting, man. No games in the division are gimme anyway.
No.
And so Derek Stingley Jr., like I said a few weeks ago, arguably the best DB coming out this year. We'll see. Health is a big question on him. And so they added something to the offensive line, but it's the Houston Texans in a divisional game, and there's history there with those fellas. And so then week 17, Thursday night game, the Dallas Cowboys here in Nashville, Tennessee, 12-5. We know what happened to them in the wild card game against the 49ers. And so you got the Cowboys on the road, no Amari Cooper, no Randy Gregory. Dak arguably came off one of his career seasons that he's had since he's been a Dallas Cowboy, almost 4,500 yards passing. They still got Ezekiel Elliott over 1,000 yards rushing, CD Lamb, and so Gallup. They picked up James Washington, receiver out of Pittsburgh in free agency. Dalton Schultz at tight end. Offensive line is still there. I don't know if it's as solid, as it was. They lost a few pieces there in free agency. But then if you look at the defensive side of the ball, they still got some. They brought in Dante Fowler Jr. From the Atlanta Falcons to pair him up with DeMarcus Lawrence. They re-signed Vander Esch at linebacker and Michael Parsons. You got some young talent right there. And then the secondary is pretty much intact. And so, guys, another Trayvon Diggs had 11 picks last year. Another tough football game at home. J. Lou, talk to him about these Cowboys, man.
Well, this is the one that I've marked will be a home away game for us because the Cowboys fans travel. It's a Thursday night prime time, so hopefully I'm wrong. But we've all seen it. These prime time games with these big teams have been like a 60-40 split. So that's something that the team just had to be used to. But the Cowboys, this is one where they have a Super Bowl winning coach. Now, granted, that Super Bowl was a long time ago, but he's also like some of these rookie coaches who can coach himself out of a game.
We saw that.
We've seen that
not knowing the timing issue of the football game.
Yeah, so this is one where I think that the secret, the ingredient for the Cowboys to come away with a win would be really utilizing Pollard instead of Zeke, because I just think that Pollard is the best, the better. He brings the overall better running skills than Zeke does to that team. Defensive wise, again, they're tough, but it's those 11 picks, they're fluffed. I'm just saying that. Now, Eddie, I like to throw the ball around, but I like defense.
Yeah,
it's easy to catch when the ball's thrown to you, because if you go back and look at some of Diggs' plays against some of these receivers, you'll see him on the ground against some of the better receivers that really knew what they were doing. It's easy to rack up these picks when you got the QB throwing it to. Well, again, we got Tannehill, so it can go either way. But this is a game, man. It's a short week for both teams. Right. Again, the Cowboys, we're in the advantage because you're the home team, so that's always the advantage when you got this short week. Non-divisional, non-conference game, but as we saw last year when the 49ers came in here in week 16 or 17, both teams still had something to play for. And you would think this late in the season with the Cowboys possibly playing for the East and us hoping to be playing for our division as well, this would be a big game. But it's the tight end is Schultz. He's going to be key as well. Now, granted, the last couple of years, especially when we had G-Wiz Guy and Cruikshank, he was locking up these tight. I mean, it was weird not having to talk about tight ends last year because that's been our kryptonite forever. Yeah. So you're hoping that we keep that going because, again, I think that's Dak's safety blanket. And again, Dak has known to overpress sometimes as well. So you get a little pressure on him, and he can give you the ball or two. But I think this will be the NFL couldn't have asked for if both teams, season goes the way it goes, could ask for a better final Thursday night football game with two from the different conferences that could be a superstar of a game.
Yeah. Right. And G Witt, man, we got the Cowboys. They like J. Lou said, they bring their fan base on the road. And and if the Titans are not doing well, we might have a Dallas Cowboys stadium on that night. But it's gonna be a tough game, man. Dallas brings a lot to the table, averaging 407 yards of offense last season, number one in the NFL. And so G Witt, man, what's gonna be the key to this one?
Yeah, man. I tell you that I was at the game the last time the Cowboys were here, and it was like when we played against Kansas City in 2019, man. It was like 80% Cowboy fans and 20% Titans fans. Now, granted, that'll change this year, but you still got a lot of people who live here who are quote unquote closet Cowboy fans. So they'll pull out their Cowboy jersey that night for sure. So that goes back to your 60-40 split, J. Lou.
Yes.
But here's the thing about it, and Dallas is going to be an interesting team this year. Granted, Amari Cooper didn't do much last year, or the few years that he was there, but he still was a number one receiver that everybody had to pay attention to.
That's right.
They got CeeDee Lamb, who's more explosive, but you just don't know how he's going to function now, not being the number two. He's going to be the number one. There's always a difference when you become the number one target as opposed to being the number two. And it's the same thing is going to be for Michael Gallup. I mean, he moves up the slot to like the number two target. So it's going to be interesting to watch that. Ezekiel Elliott, man, you just don't know what you're going to get with him. You see some games where he looks absolutely great. But here's the key for the Cowboys, and Cowboy fans already know this. The coach does not like running the ball, man. He's worse than Frank Wright, man. Yes. Mike McCartney does not like running the ball. That's why you see their rushing totals. It's like, yeah, they got 125 yards a game, man, but still, most of that is in the first half. When they need rushing yards, they don't run them. They don't run the ball, man. They just don't. Mike McCartney, he was like that in Green Bay, and he's like that in Dallas. He doesn't like running the ball. He wants to throw the ball. So again, the offensive line has gone through some changes, so it's going to be interesting to see that. Their defense, I'm always got the jury out on that defense, man, to be totally honest with you. Don't get me wrong. Michael Parsons, I think, is a stud. But Van Der Esch, I'm not. He had that one great year, and I think he's still living off of it. Dante Fowler Jr., DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be great. I think defensive line, they're going to be okay, but they lost some pass rushers, man. So it's going to be interesting to see how this defense is going to look this year as opposed to the way they did last year. But, they got Malik Hooker as a safety. They got Trayvon Diggs, like you said, Anthony Brown. So it's going to be an interesting deal, but I've never really been that high on Dallas's defense, even though they were much improved last year. You saw, and when it got down to crunch time, they still would give up yards. They still would give up plays. So, it's just one of them things where you just don't know what you're going to get with the Cowboys, man. But I'm interested. I think our defense can play well against them if we can get that pass rush going, because as you said, one thing about Dak's a good quarterback when like all good quarterbacks when he's got time. But if you're putting pressure on him, he's subject to toss that ball up and having power to make some good plays out of it.
Yes.
So that's going to be the difference to me. I think we're just going to push that defense and shut down that running game early, because if you start doing that early, Mike McCartney will abandon the running game. He'll make his team one-dimensional all by himself.
He by himself. Yes.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that Dak Prescott was sacked 30 times last year, had 10 interceptions, and so got to get pressure on him from the jump and force him to beat us. And it's gonna be a tough game, like you guys already mentioned, man. It's that late in the year, and it could be a lot on the line once again. Playoff seeding, if you will, and then and we'll see. And it's the Cowboys, right? And so a primetime television, why not? And so then we wrap up week 18 at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another ugly game. Jay Lee, that's one of those games you circle, man, because if it's on the line to win the division, man, you saw what they did to the coach. And I'm not saying we're the coach, because I know they had Carson Wentz and they had issues with him. But it's one of those games that, as Rodney Gaddis said, a heart attack game.
Yes.
That it could be on the road.
Yes. First of all, we haven't got lucky and got to finish the season at home in such a long time.
That is so true.
The schedule makers hate us for that, because I hate home field advantage means a little something in these late division games. And again, you saw it. Jacksonville last year played spoiled. They played spoiled the past 2 years. Now, granted, we don't get Houston this time, but we go to the Jags. We know the game plan. It's simple. Everybody in America knows what the game plan is. It's just about executing it. Now, again, Derrick Henry goes into Derrick Henry beast mode in Jacksonville, because that's home for him. So this late game, it's one of those. nothing much different we can say than we said a few weeks ago. You know that Jacksonville's not going to mail it in. Even if they tried to mail it in last year, they didn't and gave it away. So again, I think with better coaching, you'll see them at least play tough and play hard. And anybody in the AFC South would love to continue to play spoiler when it comes to Big Brother. And as G. Witt mentioned previously, they have this game circled because of 22. So no matter what the record is, they have it circled because of 22. Because as G. Witt said, they don't want to be on the highlight reel again. But this would be a tough one where, again, you don't want it to be something. You don't want it to be something weird to go on, and you give them life. Because again, you just keep giving them life, giving them life. As one of the comments was earlier, we always throw them a lifeline. You don't want to give them no lifeline because then you find yourself like the coach sitting home and come playoff time.
Right. And G. Witt, man, I think Jay Lou said it all. 22, this year, 22, this is a proven year for him, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's already counting him out because he was injured. He's going to be 29 during the season. He's getting close to that pinnacle of the running back age and lifespan of the NFL. To where, we see most of the guys when they hit 30, minus Adrian Peterson, they kind of start tailing off some. But gee, we know the beast mode is going to be back this year, and he's going to do his thing, especially against the Jaguars, like you say, J. Lo. He's like, between them and Houston, I don't know who he likes the best.
Right. Well, I will be honest with you, man. With this game right here, in all honesty, just go back to what you were saying, J. Lou. What you want, really, the ideal situation for the Titans is that we have nothing to play for. In other words, we got everything wrapped up that we're going to have wrapped up.
Yes. You might see Malik playing.
And you might see Malik. That's the hope for this game right here.
Yes.
That Malik gets to get in this game and he gets some baptism by fire, because Jacksonville will consider that the ultimate insult. That we come into their stadium with nothing to play. We don't even play, the first team, the King doesn't play, Tannehill doesn't play, all of that. So you really hope that when you come into this game that you got like division locked up, playoff seeding locked up, all of that locked up, so you can just go ahead and just not have to play your top dogs and give them a game of rest and go ahead and play those people who own the backups,
right?
And let them get in there. You're still playing to win. You still play. You still want Hakeem Haskins to come in and run the ball well. Mm-hmm. If Malik is playing, you want him to throw the ball well. You want to win. Bottom line is, and you want that team to come out and play against a team that's going to be mad and pissed off because they're not going to be able to play against. They're not going to want to let a rookie QB beat them. Right. That's what we're hoping to have happen at that game. But if not, if it goes as the past few seasons goes, again, we've stated it already. Derrick Henry generally runs good in Jacksonville because that's a home game for him. He's playing in front of his family, in front of his fans, that from high school and everything. So it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be tough. Again, we don't know what Jacksonville's going to be playing for. If they're going to be, I doubt if they're going to be mailing it in. I really look to see that they're going to be playing tough. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. But again, they got it circled. They're expecting it. Like I said, for me, the ultimate goal for us by that game, we got everything locked up. We're getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, Will makes a great point. He said the last time we rested our starters was late in the season was 2008. So that's pretty
correct.
Good. That's correct, sir.
Absolutely.
That is correct. Rodney says that game is scaring him some. And Virgil Moses, I agree with you, Virgil. 22-22. The beast in 22, man.
Man, drop the rhymes.
That's our wrap up of the 2022 schedule. And if y'all stay tuned, G. Witt will give you his prediction of the record for the 2020.
Hold your breath, as a matter of fact.
So let me throw this out there too, guys. I forgot to bring this up earlier in the show because I saw this article this past week. Excuse me. Is Julio Jones worth bringing back in on a veterans minimum if he's healthy?
I'll let G. Witt answer first because his face looks like he's answering it.
Right.
No, you don't bring him back. I understand the sentimentality, but again, you just wasted $15 million. Well, you wasted what? $69 million on him because $15 million plus Ryan Tannehill's cap number.
Yes.
Oh, well, yeah. That's true.
Thanks for reminding folks of that, because everybody's upset at Tannehill.
Yeah.
He didn't do it. Tannehill was a team player last year.
Right.
You know,
He was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right now, you don't bring him back. I understand the thought process behind it, but I don't see J. Rob making that move. You brought him in, you kicked the tires once, and you let that go. Again, it's unfortunately for us, he had a couple of good games, but really, when you stop and think about it, it was enough to move the needle. It definitely wasn't enough for that $15 million. You know that because they didn't even try to re-sign him. So the bottom line is, now you don't bring him back. If anything, you got to move on, because you got to keep your roster turning. That's the thing about it. You got they even though we don't like it, because we've had some solid homegrown talent. Mm-hmm. J-Rob is definitely one who's going to turn the roster over. He's not going to keep the same roster year in and year out. The fact that we got our defense coming back is a testimony to how good they played last year.
Right, right. And I ain't gonna ask you, Jay Lucas. I already know what you're gonna say. No, but go ahead. Oh
yeah, I was going to agree with G-Wit. I'd only sign him if that meant he didn't go to Indy. But the wild card is that his injury is a soft tissue injury. And he's had the last 2 or 3 years. And you just don't know how those heal. I mean, everybody's talking about Derrick Henry coming off. He broke a foot. It's a broken bone. You know that a broken bone can heal faster than a soft tissue. Soft tissue. I mean,
that's right.
Hamstring. You saw Julio play a game, off a game, miss 3. I mean, them soft tissue injuries at his age, it's not worth kicking the tires on. And I go a step deeper, because again, I look at Tannehill just a little different, and I hope I'm right at the end of the season, that I just think he turns the switch, because up here is correct. But I think bringing Julio messes with Tannehill up here even more, because I think he had a lot of pressure on his head trying to figure out, how do I fit in this Hall of Famer and AJ Brown last year. And again, even though these guys are pros, you heard it 2 weeks ago when Tannehill was talking about he had to go to therapy and all. Outside of the loss, who all knows what else he was going for to help get him right. So I don't think you mess with the mentals and the functionality of the team by doing that. Similar to the way that you saw some of them defensive players not come back when their defense was trash 2 years ago, and you kept hearing Byard talk about communication and all. When I think some of it was the players as well. Mm-hmm. I think Julio be in that same line, that you just don't want to take your chances with that, with what you're building on this offense.
I don't even want to answer this one, because I already know the answer on this one too. So Taylor said, "What if Odell's available?" No.
Taylor.
Number one, he don't block.
Let's remember, Taylor's an ex-receiver, man. So that's part of his problem, man.
I mean, Taylor has a point, because OBJ is one of John Robinson's favorite players, because he has a torn ACL. So we're good. We're good about signing those, but I don't think I don't think he's ready until the end of the year if he comes back.
Yeah. So thank y'all for joining us for another episode.
I got something I heard this weekend too. That this past week that was great to hear. And again, it's just lip service in June, but it could go a long way. But I heard a press conference with Todd Downing, and Todd Downing owned his mistakes about the team starting slow.
He
did G-Wit. Like he even put it. He said that Tim Kelly being in the building has given him insights on how they started slow last year, and he said, "I own that." Now, again, this is just June, but to hear a coach owning it when everybody knew that we were starting slow, it gives you a little light that it might be progress, that we might see something different. But he did. He owned up to his mistakes, G-Wit, on saying that there's no way this team can start like it did last year on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I saw when the press conference happened, but I never listened to the assistants. I make it a practice not to. I usually listen to the head coach and usually I wouldn't even listen to the players. But this offseason, that's I have. But the fact that he said that, that does give you a little glimmer of hope. that maybe. But again, we've been saying though, if there's no improvement in this offense by week 4,
change it.
It might be changed.
He's gone. Yeah.
They may have his replacement already on stop, so he understands and knows. It's just like Shane Bowen last year when they brought in our boy. They know. They know they got to come up, they got to step up, and they got to perform. Because like Mike Vrabel's already said, I'm not going anywhere. So, so
you already know what that means, don't you? That means you're gonna get rid of people that don't make right. They're not making the play. They're not making the correct
call. You're not calling the game
not
right.
Coach, that's right. You go.
You will be gone. So yeah, that's I would say it's refreshing to hear. You're right. You generally don't hear coordinators on that come up with that and state that. But again, this is a team that when you stop and look at it from an offensive standpoint, they have no choice but to own it. I mean, come on, man.
Right.
You know, you went from being in the top 5 in the league to in the bottom half of the league offensively. Mm-hmm. Come on, now. You know, and the only thing that changed was the OC,
the coordinator.
And everybody trying to figure out what happened to Tannehill. That's what happened to Tannehill.
Yes. You know, granted he had some mental stuff, like you said, Jay Lou, but still at the bottom line, you know, you threw out the strongest play that Tannehill had, play action.
Yes.
You threw it away.
And the bootleg.
And the bootleg. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, like you didn't take advantage of the boy's skills. The man's skills, right? I should say. That's the problem. And that's not good coaching to me. Good coaching states you take care, you use your players according to the skill level that they have. Mm-hmm. So if you're gonna sit there and say, no, I'm not gonna let you run when Tannehill does better running and when he does better with play action, you setting yourself up for failure.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's been said so many times on this show. I'm just saying. Edwin Lede, man, we agree with you, man. Pick up Will Fuller. That's what we say too. Taylor says, okay. Hold on. Let me say. 2/3 of us say that. 2/3 of us. And if you're looking at the show, it's the 2 screens on top. The 2 screens. So if I covered up G-Wit and then did the half. So the 2 screens on top. Agree with you. And Taylor says, go ahead and slam him on OBJ, man. We're going to slam you on him, man. You know, we know that shit.
Man.
But good point, Will.
Me and Taylor had a conversation today about his team. So, you know, he's more concerned about the Commanders or the Commandos or whatever.
Hey, at least he got a quarterback in Carson Wentz. Anyway, Will says only 17 points scored on the starting drive last season total. Man, great point, Will. Those are facts, man. 100%. Yeah. Well, we appreciate y'all joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustments.
Yes, sir.
That is our schedule wrap up for the 2022 season. Gee, wait, what about? Never mind. Jay Lou, I ain't gonna ask.
You didn't ask Jay Lou, but don't ask
he ain't gonna. Jay Lou, you got a prediction for the schedule?
Yeah, 11-6.
There you go. 11-6.
11-6.
11-6. I like that.
I think they take a game back. What was it, 12-5 last year? Yeah, 11-6.
I like
that. 11-6 with 2 losses that when we do halftime adjustments on Sundays, G Wiz gonna come out of his skin because it's gonna be to 2 teams that they shouldn't have lost to. So they'll lose 2 of them that they shouldn't lose to, and G Wiz we'll all be blown up on those. But I think 11-6.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna tell you who I think who they're gonna lose to. We'll wait. We'll wait on that one. So again, thank you for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustments, man. The questions, the comments, support of the show. Hey, be looking out, man, for the information on the next show when we come back and we're gonna look to break down the positions, guys. We'll look at this team, break down some positions as we get ready to go until the break before training camp comes. You know that the time is winding down rapidly for OTAs. You got the rest of this month, then they go on vacation for July. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what happens, man. And see about the King Henry and what this offense. I'm really intrigued on what this offense is gonna look like. Minus AJ Brown, and now with Austin, you got a legitimate. I'm not gonna call him a big dog tight end, but you got a legitimate tight end now that can make some plays happen. Yes. And the question is, who outside of Robert Woods is gonna step up? Now, NWI, he'll be there. He'll make some catches, but who's gonna step up and be that number 2 guy beside Robert Woods? Is it gonna be the rookie Burks? Is it gonna be somebody else we pick up in free agency?
Be the rookie Phillips.
Could be the rookie. I think Phillips is our slot guy.
None. No doubt.
I mean, he might be the number 2. I don't know, but I think he's the slot guy for sure. And I think he's gonna be a security blanket with Tannehill when it's all said and done.
I'm gonna say this though, man. I'm just interested to see how the King is gonna come back, man.
That's what I want to see.
That's the one thing I'm looking forward to. I mean, he's posting his workout videos and everything. Like once again, he's in phenomenal shape. That's why Vrabel ain't. He didn't come in. We're not worried about him. He's in shape. you know. But the thing, and Jeffrey Simmons is going to be in shape, being the slimmest 300-pound plus guy I've ever seen in my life. You know, deadlifting 670 pounds with reps and everything, with no straps.
No straps.
No straps.
Yeah. No straps. No big grunting.
No belt.
No belt. Yeah, Virgil, I agree with you, man. I'm interested also in this DV conversation. Is what are we gonna get out of Caleb Farley? You know, who's going to be opposite of Christian Fulton on the outside, on the other side? Do they bring in a veteran DB? You know, a lot of questions yet to be answered for this football team, for the 2022 version of the Tennessee Titans. But that's what makes it fun, man, to try to figure it out. You know, we're not experts, but we'll give you what we think. Right. And sometimes we right on the money. So, on some of the stuff we put out.
On some of the stuff, yeah.
Right. Sometimes we not, but majority of the time, man, we pretty accurate on our statements. So again, thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Halftime with Jones. Be looking out for the next information for the next show, the time and the day. And man, hey, come back and kick it with us again. I'm ADR now. That's J. Lou and that's D. Witt. Halftime adjustments. We out, man. Tighten up.
Peace.